Hi everyone, this is Monica and this is David. Today we are talking about how technological leaders are navigating AI, cloud, and also future engineering. I'm excited to have David from Microsoft, who has spent years building impactful technological solutions. I would start with a few questions to David. Tell us about yourself and also your role at Microsoft.
Sure. My name is David. I live here in downtown Chicago, and I've been with Microsoft about 12 and a half years, almost 13 years. And my job is I'm a cloud architect. My title is Partner Solution Architect because I work with partners of Microsoft. And essentially, my role is to help our partners get their customers' applications and data onto our cloud, onto Microsoft Azure. And that can mean maybe helping them design solutions. It could be helping them design migrations. It could be educating them on how to use our technologies. It could be helping them to get their offers into the marketplace or communicate with their customers, anything to help partners be more successful on our platform.
Okay. I would ask you like few technological questions and
Sure.
also about your experience about the cloud data, Azure database, and also how it has been kind of evolved over the years. And I want your experience to kind of make sure to educate people who are in the market, who is in the job market also, who kind of learn from this episode. Let's start with a few questions now. What has been the most important lessons from your technological career journey?
Most important lessons. Oh my gosh, this has been decades I've been doing this here. And so things change all the time. I guess the most important lesson is that I've learned to stay curious. This industry changes really fast, and the skills you acquire today, many of them will be obsolete in a few years. So that passion for learning, that excitement to learn the next thing and to solve the next problem. That's probably number one right there.
Yeah. Stay curious.
Yeah, certainly more so than any specific technology.
That's nice. That's a good one to kind of note down and have a curious mindset to kind of make sure to learn everything what's happening around the technology. So yeah, next is after speaking with hundreds of technological leaders, right? So what traits consistently separate top performance from everyone else?
Oh yeah, that's an easy one because as I said, the technology changes, it evolves all the time. What you really need is the ability to solve a problem, to identify what the problem is, break it down into its fundamental steps, figure out here's where I am, here's where I want to get to, these are the tools at my disposal. That skill to be able to take that information, figure it out, and then just find your way to a solution. That's number one, regardless of the tools, the technology you're using.
Yeah. I think that's one of the best thing to kind of go from the fundamentals, know your fundamentals, where exactly you're kind of working, what works for you, and build up from there.
Agreed.
Yeah. So going to the next question. So how do you think AI will change the roles of software engineers, data engineers, and architects over the next 5 years?
Oh, in some ways it won't. You still have to solve a problem, just as I spoke about. I think one of the big changes is this a new skill we have to add to our toolbox. Because AI works, or at least generative AI works using natural language like English. The ability to articulate what we want from the computer in a natural language is going to become more and more important. And I think this is something new for a lot of technologists. If you're a software developer, you're writing code in a specific computer language. You say, do this, do that, evaluate this condition, and then if it's true, do that. If it's not false, do that. Then loop X number of times. There's very structured, very clearly defined languages and syntax that you use. English is much less like that. English is very fuzzy. There's a lot of different ways to ask it. You still have to be precise in how you're asking the question, because otherwise, if the computer doesn't understand what you want, it's not going to give the results that you expect. And that's a skill a lot of us don't have. We certainly weren't born with it. We'll have to develop it. We'll have to hone it a little bit. I think that skill is going to be more and more important going forward. The other ones are still important, but that one is one we're going to have to add to our toolbox, I think.
So how do you think one should be able to look at everyday aspects? There is a new technology coming in, there is new skills coming in. How do you implement in a day-to-day activities? Do you follow any of these routines that you dedicate some time, or do you have to practice? How do you follow
how do I learn it? It's always a big challenge. I always think that's the best and the worst part of this job is that everything changes so fast. You have to be constantly learning. For me, I learn by doing and by explaining. So I do a lot of public speaking, and I have my own YouTube channel where I try to teach things to people. And by articulating, that really helps because usually I'll have some demo that I'm showing, which means that I'm getting hands-on experience in building an agent using Microsoft Foundry, for example. I can read all that all I want. That's really helpful. I understand what the rules are, but until I actually do it, until I explain it to somebody, I don't really internalize it. So that's my process. I'll read about it, I'll try it, and then I'll teach it. And once I do that, I feel like I've got a good handle on it.
That's amazing. So going to the next question. So what skills should technological professionals invest in today to remain relevant in the AI era?
I think the big skill is just understand what problem we're trying to solve, that ability to find what the problem is and how we're going to get there. And in order to do that, understand what are you using AI for? It's a very broad category. It can be used for a lot of different things, anything from generating code to analyzing legal documents. In order to use it effectively, you need to understand the domain that it's trying to solve. If you're understanding, if you want to read legal documents, you have to have experience in what is a legal document going to do. If you want to write code, you have to understand what is that code base trying to do. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have to evaluate that and say, did AI provide the right answer? And you don't have to dive deep into it, but you better be able to know whether or not the answer was reasonable. Because AI can hallucinate, particularly if you give it vague instructions.
That's true. I think AI is also helping us evaluate the bigger problems, but the thinking has to be from human, right? So that's kind of
100%.
that's kind of also evolving. It is also evolving with us with the learnings that we put into that. So I think that's a amazing answer to include in our things. So the next thing is, when hiring a senior technical talent in your team or in your org, what qualities matter more than the technical skills for you?
Well, I'll go back to the curiosity, the passion for learning. That's one of them because the technology changes so fast. And the other is just the ability to complete tasks. I'm a technologist. I love playing with toys, and it's easy to get distracted by shiny objects. But at the end of the day, nothing adds value unless it's finished and delivered. So just that ability here. I've always thought that the purpose of a college education, there are a few purposes of it. One of them is to learn the fundamental skills, but some of the skills you learn in college are going to be obsolete by the time you graduate. But what's not going to be obsolete is that ability to think, that ability to articulate, and the evidence that you actually finished something you started. A 4-year degree, for example, is evidence that you finished something that took no trivial amount of time.
That's true. So I think ability to complete the task, passion for learning is one of the two things that you look for the people that you want to grow with you along the org, right? So that's amazing one. So the next question is, what is the biggest mistake organizations make when adopting AI and modern data platforms?
Oh, I think the big mistake I hear about is thinking that AI will do everything. I think you alluded to this here, that you need a human to validate. You need a human in the loop is the phrase I hear over and over again. And I hear stories about that. Why do I need programmers? I told this tool to write the code for me. It wrote all the code for me. And then a week later, problems arise. How do I troubleshoot those problems? Maybe you didn't think about scalability, or maybe you didn't think about security or fault handling errors or things like that. And I think people are relying on AI too much. Folks like us, big software vendors who are trying to sell AI solutions, and we're partly to blame for that. There is a lot of hype around it. We want to sell you on the advantages of a tool like AI, but at the same time, you need to understand that it's not going to magically do everything for you. I hear people thinking that AI is going to replace my job. And that's probably not true, at least not in the short or medium term. But somebody that understands AI better than I do might replace me.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. So I think not giving entire thinking to an AI. So get the what I believe is, if you have a bigger problem, get the fundamentals from AI, learn everything, but you put your thinking and explore more through AI.
Somebody put this to me when they're talking about tools like GitHub Copilot, which is a generative AI tool for generating code. They said it shortened the Google Stack Overflow copy paste loop. As a software developer, I want to write something, a technology that I'm not an expert in. I go out to the web and I find sample code, or I ask the question on a forum like Stack Overflow. I find the answer and I copy it and I paste it into my code and I try it, I debug it. And AI is doing something really similar. It's getting its information from the web, from a search of the web and sample code, and it is trying it and testing it. And sometimes it doesn't work and it tries it again. But it's doing it faster than I can. And that's a great advantage, but it's not magic. Somebody needs to validate.
Exactly.
That it's doing what I want.
Human intervention is much needed because it can hallucinate, it can throw wrong errors, and also you need someone to validate. So I think help us to increases the speed of thinking, increases the speed in what we're doing, but a validation is a must. So I think that's a good
We
point
are
to
in
kind
violent
of
agreement on this.
I think that's a good one. So going to the next one is, so for professionals aspiring to work at companies like Microsoft, what experience or achievements help candidates to stand out?
Oh, I work with a lot of students and I give advice on this. One of the pieces of advice I give is that when you apply to a place like Microsoft
Mm-hmm.
or Facebook or Google or one of these big companies where thousands, literally thousands of people are applying for the same role, that's not uncommon. And many of them went to good schools and they got good grades there, and that's awesome. And you went to a good school, got good grades, and you got a good resume. It's hard to stand out.
Mm-hmm.
And what I tell people is show something that you did outside of your schoolwork,
Mm-hmm.
outside of your job, outside of your 9 to 5 job, something that shows passion,
Mm-hmm.
something that shows your excitement
That's true.
for the technology, for
That's
what you're
correct.
doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be hosting a podcast like
Yeah.
this.
Mm-hmm.
It could be, if you're a student, it could be running the local iPhone developers group.
Mm-hmm.
It could be speaking at conferences. It could be writing a blog. It could be contributing to open source. It could be
Mm-hmm.
some hardware project that you're developing home. It could be just about anything. But have a project like that and be able to tell the story about that project.
Mm-hmm.
Have a 1 minute version of that story and a 5 minute version of the story. Practice articulating. That's what makes you stand out beyond the thousand other people
Mm-hmm.
who have very similar resumes. There's other things you can do. You can take certification exams and you can really have somebody review your resume and they'll help. But I think in a really competitive place like Microsoft, that's having something that's just sets you apart a little bit different. We eat that stuff up. We like people with passion. So
Yeah.
do I.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I think having a passion towards your work and what you do after your job should align to your passion. So I think that is a wonderful thing to note down as well. So coming to next question, if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self at the start of your career, what would it be?
Oh, don't be afraid to ask questions. When I was 25 years old, I was deathly afraid of looking dumb, uninformed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kept my mouth shut, and that was a huge missed opportunity.
Correct.
I think communication is
Mm-hmm.
incredibly important in understanding almost every problem I've had in the workforce, well, even in my personal life, has to do with just a lack of communication. I said one thing, you heard something else.
Exactly.
You thought you're my boss, and your priorities are X, and I thought your priorities are Y, and we're just mismatched.
That's
And
correct.
a conversation would clarify that. Or if I'm
Yeah.
stuck on a problem and I don't know how to solve it, reach out, raise your hand. I don't understand this technology. I don't understand what the problem we're trying to solve here. Somebody come over here and help me. And I think pride got in my way. And
Mm-hmm.
now I'm much more open to asking lots of questions, raising my hands. And I try to do that in front of junior developers and
Mm-hmm.
junior technologists
Mm-hmm.
to let them know it's okay. I've been doing this for 100 years and I'm still asking questions.
I think asking questions about what do you want exactly, what is your layout, what is a plan for the future, what have you done till now. Asking questions will clarify both the way. It's a two-way communication. So ask
Yeah.
questions, listen. I think more than asking questions, what I've seen in my career is listening to people around me. Listening is also one of the skill that everyone should learn because people listen what they know. They
Mhm.
don't want to listen what the other people are conveying. So I think they would just listen what they know and
Mhm.
convey it itself to themselves. So I think listening is another skill that I would also personally navigating through, adding up to my skill
I
list.
think that's a great point. And I would argue that asking questions is a part of listening, it's a part of active listening.
Exactly.
And even just clarify, were you born in India? Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I will share a story with you that
Sure.
you maybe probably know this.
Mm-hmm.
When dealing with Indians, there's a cultural difference. And
Mm-hmm.
if I explain something to an Indian developer and I
Mm-hmm.
say, do you understand? 100% of the time, they will say yes. It's just a cultural thing. They
Yeah,
don't want to, they think they're insulting me by saying, I don't understand. You're nodding because you agree, right?
exactly.
And yet that's a problem. Americans are not like that. Americans will say, I don't understand. And people won't take offense at that.
Yeah.
And so what I've started, and this is a mistake I made early on, now I'll say, well, please explain it back to me, making sure that validating they understand, because I want to clarify that communication. An American might be offended if I do that. Please explain it back to me. I just told you I understood. And so sometimes communication is a challenge across cultures like that.
That's a good, I mean, this comes with an experience also, right? So you knowing that no is not a no is also a skill that you learn over the period of
Yes,
time.
yes.
That's amazing one that you deal with a lot of people. You get to experience a lot of be culturally different, diverse people around you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is one
I know
amazing.
this because I've made mistakes. Most of my knowledge comes from making mistakes.
Yeah, yeah. I think once you make a mistake, you learn from it is also another kind of thing that you, it's a feedback loop for ourselves.
It is. I hope in the future, I'm learning from other people's mistakes. And
Yeah.
so far, not so much.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. So, coming to the next question, so can you share a leadership lesson that changed the way you manage teams of making our decisions?
Oh, sure. I think, well, the example I gave earlier about just understanding the communication across cultures, just across people, understanding how they communicate is really helpful. But another one is giving feedback that's actionable and timely.
Mhm.
I think as an employee, I appreciate feedback, even if it's negative feedback, but
Mhm.
I only appreciate it if it's something that I can change and something I have time to change.
True.
And so the best managers, they'll give you this feedback and say, you know what, this is what you were doing. This
Mhm.
is the change I want to make.
Mhm.
And they'll give it to you soon, early on.
Mhm.
So you have enough time to correct. The one mistake I've seen made is waiting until the annual review months later, 10 months later, and saying, oh, by the way,
It's gone.
8 months ago you were doing this wrong, and therefore we're going to downgrade you for that. No, don't tell
Yeah.
me that. Tell me when I make it, and then
Yeah.
I'll start doing it right. If I'm doing it wrong, it's almost certainly because I didn't understand
True.
that I was doing it wrong. And so that's a lesson I've learned over the years from both the giving end and the receiving end as an
Yeah.
employee and a manager.
How do you think good manager should be according to you?
According to me, well, I should point out that I am not a manager. At Microsoft, we use the term individual contributor. And
Contribute.
what
I
that
see.
means is
Yeah.
I'm responsible for my own actions.
Mm-hmm.
No one reports to me. But that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that I'm not a leader on a project or
No.
in an organization or no, I don't have dotted line leadership. I'm leading something, a V team, a virtual team. I want to do this. And I think, or I'll give you another example. Outside of Microsoft, I run several user groups
Amazing.
and I have people that help me with that.
Okay.
And I've been doing that for a really long time.
Uh,
And what I try to do is empower people to
mm-hmm.
find out what they're best at,
Mm-hmm.
what they want to be good at,
Mm-hmm.
and give them some responsibility. And
True.
not only does that help me ultimately to offload some of the work, but it makes them feel empowered. It makes them feel like they have ownership in the group.
That's true.
Right? They're more vested in it and
Mm-hmm.
they're willing to work harder for it. They're willing to promote it more and they're willing to bring people in
True.
and get excited about it. And
That's
so,
amazing. That's correct. Having a ownership of what you work and you lead what you are working at, it's one of the best things to learn also when you are doing it.
yeah.
And also getting the feedback, learning from people around you, but also learn from my subordinates or the co-workers.
Mhm.
Unless I am okay to learn from my mistakes and be okay to elevate my work situation. So that's one of the things that I would implement. So that's amazing. What else do you think you want to talk to people who wants to be in a technological route, who wants to work in Microsoft or who wants to work in big tech companies? Like I might be one of the aspiring person to work at Microsoft. What do you think I should be doing it? Like you said, one of the things passionate about other stuff. So that's one thing that I could note on. But what are the other few things that you would do while you're applying for Microsoft?
So one thing is just learn the technology as well as you can. Pick
Mm-hmm.
a focus area
Mm-hmm.
that you're excited about. Learn it, become really good at it. I heard the comedian Steve Martin talk about this. That people ask him all the time, "What does it take to be an actor?"
Mm-hmm.
And his response was, "Be so good that they cannot ignore you." I thought that was
Exactly.
beautiful. That just the technical skill of whatever it is that you want to do, just become really good at that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that's good. And that's probably the most important thing, just to acquire those technical skills.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond, I found that that is not enough. That if you want to go beyond just
Mm-hmm.
writing code or
Mm-hmm.
being implementing technology, you need to have communication skills.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to write a coherent paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of colleges don't teach that for technical majors. They'll teach how to write code, but they won't teach maybe how to write a paragraph. They're very
Correct.
different skills, how
Mm-hmm.
to speak, how to stand in front of an audience
Mm-hmm.
and be articulate. You're obviously very good at this. You're very articulate.
Mm-hmm.
Not everyone has awesome social skills like you and me.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
and so that's one good one. And then also
Mm-hmm.
build a network of people in your industry.
That's amazing. That's true. I kind of agree on that.
There's so many advantages to this. That's one of the reasons that I run this user group. That is, I want to get people together so that they can meet other people, exchange ideas, get their email address, get their phone number. And then this is what helped me in my career so much is that now I know people that are experts in fields that I'm a novice at. And I know if somebody calls me with a question on, I don't know, SharePoint, which I don't know I don't have deep knowledge of at all, I have somebody that I can call. If they want to call me a question on Oracle, I can call someone else. So now I'm not limited by the knowledge that's inside of my brain. I'm limited only by the knowledge of what's in the brains of all the people that I've connected with over the last 30 years. And that's a huge advantage. That networking, that's how I got my job at Microsoft, is through networking. I was just working with some folks at Microsoft. I was helping them out. They were helping me out. They knew me when I went to apply for the job. Everyone with whom I interviewed, I already knew. I had the inside track. It was a huge advantage.
Nice. That's a really good. Networking is one thing that I also give importance to in my mid career. So, talking to a lot of technological experts helps me learn from their experience rather than just reading a blog, rather than watching some YouTube videos upon where there's a lot of learnings from the people that we interact, right? So, for example, when I attended the last session of yours in terms of the data, AI, and the aspects of Microsoft Azure, I learned a lot that day.
Oh, thank you.
So,
I'm
yeah,
glad.
I think I made a blog. So, I wrote a blog and I sent it to my friends to read along with it. So, I spread information what I learned. So, that's also another thing that I do along with my data professional group that we had a meetup that other day.
That's awesome. So you learned something from me. You decided to pay it forward, to teach it to other people. I was doing the same thing. The folks that inspired me, taught me so much. I'm passing it on to you. You're passing it on to other folks. And what's really nice about that, there are people like Josh and Jennifer and Brian, the folks that really mentored me earlier in my career. I will never be able to pay them back for all the kindness they did to me. And I can pay it forward. And then maybe I'll pay it forward to you and you pay it to someone else. And then that kindness, eventually the universe has a way of getting it back to them.
Passing
Isn't that a wonderful thing?
It's one of the best things that we could learn. So learn and teach and learn again is one of the loop that I follow from people around me. So that's one of the best thing that we could do, offer to the society as well. So I think coming to the ending part of the podcast, and I would thank you so much for being
Thank
on
you.
my podcast.
Hey, before we go, can I talk about my
Sure, go
YouTube
ahead,
channels? I have a
yes,
couple of
for
shows.
sure.
I have two shows. One is called Technology and Friends. It's very similar to Monica's show here, where I sit down with the technology, with smart people, and we just talk about anything. If between 15 and 30 minutes, we talk about something that's relevant or of interest to technologists. So you go to technologyandfriends.com. That'll take you right there. And the other one is called Gcast. My last name starts with the letter G, so it's Giard Screencasts kind of mashed together. And if you go to aka.ms/GCAST, that's that one. And that is just short little videos about how to do something in technology, how to create an agent, how to create a database, how to just use create an Angular application in bite-sized chunks, maybe 15 minutes long. So either one of those, go there. I'd love to, if you smash the subscribe button, I'd love to get your feedback on it. Thanks.
Yeah, I can link up your podcast
I'd
YouTube
appreciate
link
that.
in the comment section, but please go check out what David is offering. Also, he's a very kind person to interact. You can reach out to him through his LinkedIn. I can also tag him his LinkedIn profile. So just free to follow him and subscribe for his podcast sessions. So thank you so much. Nice having you at
Thank
my
you so much,
podcast.
Monica.
Yeah, thank you.